Mane. Thanks for joining us tonight. Oh, not tonight. Oh my God, I'm so used to having presenting at night. It is the 1st of July 2025. We're officially beginning the second half of the year 2025 and officially beginning the next financial year. You see, when we were saying that the next financial year, the budget, the everything, the finance bill of the next financial year, now we have officially begun the next financial year, that is 2025, 2026. And if you have not filed your returns, KRA has given you an opportunity in this, the first day of July until midnight to file your returns. So if you missed, if you're waiting for deadline, the deadline is now postponed. You can also file your returns today. This is Biashara Tuesday, a show that keeps you updated or keeps you engaged, educates you on matters business entrepreneurship. Here we give you business secrets, strategies, and everything in between to make you a better entrepreneur, to make you a better business person. And this morning, I'm so glad to have you on board because you see, when we say making you a better entrepreneur, making you a better person, you cannot do this alone. You cannot do this without the help of the people who are around you. You cannot do this if you have not mastered how to maintain your mental health or how to keep yourself healthy mentally. And today we are having a very important discussion that is revolving around men's mental health and resilience. Why are we having this conversation this morning, or why is this conversation important? 8 out of 10 men, 8 out of 10 suicide cases reported are men. That means only 2 are women. And that means that if we go by these statistics, 6.1% of 100,000 people who die of suicide are men. That means that the suicide or the fatality rate of men who commit suicide is higher in the male gender than in the female gender. Why is this happening? Because if a man decides that I'm going to commit suicide, it is that they really want to die. And they use lethal methods, like they will hang themselves, they will, shoot themselves, they will use lethal ways, different from ladies. For ladies, if they want to, they think of committing suicide, most of the time it's because they probably want attention or they're probably crying for help. So they will go for methods like using pills, drowning themselves, something that, they can be saved. So that is the difference. And the reason why we are having this conversation this morning and why it is important, it's because most of the time we have normalized a situation where we tell our men that, you need to man up, you need to be a man. And the conversations about them being vulnerable is something that we don't talk about. So that is why we are having this conversation this morning. We'll also look at controversy theories around mental health because this century, in 2025, if we look at conversations around mental health and everything that surrounds, vulnerability, speaking about what bothers you, there is a theory, a controversial one, that says that most of the time we are focusing on gratifying emotional fragility. We are becoming emotionally weak and we are rewarding that. Instead of dealing with our own problems, instead of understanding that feelings are not the reality, we focus on getting gratitude or avoiding situations, avoiding tough conversations. When someone is having boundaries, we tend to believe that that person is a nonchalant. We tend to believe that that person is manipulative. If someone understands themselves, what triggers them, and avoids those things, we tend to think that this person is not accommodative, this person is toxic. And we are avoiding real conversation. Instead of talking about how am I going to handle stress, we are trying to avoid stress. And that, at some point, is bringing us to a state where we are being emotionally fragile and we are becoming weak emotionally. So that is a conversation we are going to be having this morning. And we shall be getting to know, is it really that we are becoming weak as a people, or is it that this is the right way to go? And what is it about tough, it is tough therapy, where the ones parents used before, ukisema I don't feel like eating, mzazi anakuambia utakula, and I'm telling you utakula. So what is the relevance of having tough therapy and the soft therapy that we are seeing currently ongoing. So that is a conversation that we'll be having this morning, and we'll be joined by Matthew Muiruri, who is a community youth mental health champion. He'll be joining us, talking to us about are men resilient, or what is the state of our resilience in terms of mental health, and this specifically when it comes to dealing with the male gender. And also we'll be joined by Camila Gojobe, who is a community youth organizer, and they're both here, and they will be talking to us about mental health and why is it relevant to us. And the reason why we're having this conversation, I repeat once again, it's because for you to have a successful business, for you to be a successful entrepreneur, for you to be a prosperous employee, you need to have good state of mind, and that comes from having conversations about how can you have this good state of mind, how can you differentiate between your feelings and the reality, how can you know how to handle people who are emotionally mature and you are not, how can you be the best version of yourself. So that is why we are having this conversation this morning. This morning also, something interesting is coming up. I've told you that it is the 1st of July. We're beginning a different year. The year 2024, 2025, 2023, 2024 has been long, and the ending, that is the month of June 2025, had a number of activities. If you compare last year, the 2024 June, and this year, 2024 June, since the uprising of the Gen Z movement, a lot has been happening, and we'll be having a short feature that will also tell us the account of events of what has been happening since the uprising of Gen Z, what we have done wrong, what we have done right, what we learned from that movement, and what we should be looking forward to. So that feature is also coming up during this Biashara Tuesday on this 1st of July. Also this morning, we'll be having a conversation on the state of the nation, and we'll be looking at newspaper review, different newspapers we are having here. I'll be reading the headlines in just a few, and we will be joined by Frederick Ya, who is the human rights advocate and youth leader. He'll be joining us this morning, and we'll also be joined by our very own Blue Smile Hassan for an interesting discussion on the state of our nation. And just on the same note, as we are talking about the state of our nation, we have the papers this morning. We have the Star talking about the young generation, and it says that how youth power resets 2027 politics. And we've had various leaders across our country, both in opposition and those allied to the government, all of them speaking about Gen Zs, tagging them in everything they are doing. We have seen some of them going to the streets with Gen Zs, those aspiring to run for presidential positions, tagging themselves along Gen Zs. We've seen leaders like Babu Wino saying they support Gen Zs on different platforms. We've seen Matiang'i, we've seen Kalonzo, we've seen even the president, and everyone talking about the Gen Z, Gen Z, Gen Z. And it's not about the Gen Z, it's about the young population. Everyone is talking about the youth in the country and how they're going to be part of this, the discussion of leadership. Last week, we had KUSA president, that is Glenn Karani, who talks about the youth finding their way in politics and not being used by the political elite. Those people who have been in politics for the longest time being used when it comes to campaigns and when it comes to decision making, they're left behind. So everyone is tagging along the young generation. And the Star has given prominence to that story. It's like an analytical story. Gen Z have become decisive force that everyone wants them to be part of the side. But we can't have this conversation if the young generation are not keen on having their voters card, if the young generation are not going to vote. So that is a conversation that we'll be having also, how this is going to shape our 2027 election, or rather how it's going to shape our campaigns in the coming days. The Star also has given prominence to other stories. We have Hangadelix Kihara, how nature lovers fixes fashion and ecotourism. This is a story where those people in the fashion industry use the products of nature to make fashion materials or to design clothes and merchandise like bags and everything that can be fused with maintaining the safety of our environment, and also ensuring that fashion is upheld. We have opposition walks a political tightrope on who to unseat Ruto. And we've had different alignments and realignments here and there. Yesterday we saw the opposition leaders coming together for a rally. We had Martha Karua, Stephen Kalonzo, we had DCP party leader, that is Rigathi Gachagua, we had Eugene Wamalwa, all of them coming together for a rally. So does this hint of a joint political alliance bringing together the opposition? And as at now, they're yet to figure out who is going to run against President William Ruto. So 2 years is a long time. We have 2025, the remaining half of 2025, 2026, and a half of 2027 before August, when we'll be going to elections. So much can happen. We can have the opposition joining governments. It's not something that is new. We can have political shift. Those who are now really supporting the opposition or criticizing the government, we can see them being aligned to the government. 2 years is a long time, so we expect a lot. And also something that is not political on the star given prominence there is birth control debate just as Kenya battles high teen pregnancies. So this is a conversation where Kenya continues to battle alarmingly high rates of teenage pregnancy despite a slight decline in reported cases, according to the Ministry of Health, Maternal and Newborn Health status report released in June 2025. 240,787 adolescents aged 10 to 19 years presented with pregnancy at their first antenatal care visit in 2024. So this is a huge number, 200,000. That is Australia laki mbili of young people, like we have young mothers. So these days I hear people say that when you want to get into a relationship, before you could be asking, are you having a baby mama? And it will be something that, you're weighing. But right now, it is something that we are going in the next 10 years when these young people, the age between 10 and 19, they will be around between 21 and 29. That is the age bracket when the society says someone is supposed to be getting married. So in the next 10 years, most marriages or most relationships will be getting into a relationship with a copy that indeed we can perform, like a copy of something of the sort. It's not a good trend, and the Ministry of Health is proposing measures like including family planning or birth control measures. We'll be talking about that also. We'll be asking the young minds who will be joining us for the newspaper review, what next can we do after that. Still on the matters of health, the Daily Nation has given prominence to the health matters, and it's not a positive story because it says SHA scandal, and this is the effectiveness of Kenya's most expensive healthcare system put in place to remedy the theft of taxpayers' money that plagued the defunct NHIF has been put to question after some 31 hospitals across 13 counties were found running elaborate deception schemes involving double billing, fake outpatient claims, forced and ghost admissions, as well as pre-authorization code abuses. The revelation of the scam could just be the tip of the iceberg. So when we were having NHIF coming in place, it was supposed to ease or to solve the problem of fraud, or to solve the problem of embezzlement of funds, or in general to solve the problem of corruption. But now we have been given a heads up here that you know what, that might not be working as you think. And we've had the CS of Health Aden Duale in several occasions, several instances, saying that the government is working, social health authority is working, we have affordable housing, the economy is stable right now. But right now, from where we see, there's going to be a problem because 31 hospitals is not a small number, and that means the money is not little at the same time. So we'll be having a discussion of this, of how I saw someone say on Twitter that we're not supposed to be forced to believe or to see that the government is working. We're being told that the SHA is working. No, we're not supposed to be told. We're supposed to see and say for ourselves that indeed the government is working. something else that we should be talking about this morning. And the Star is also giving, or not the Star, the Daily Nation story of the DCI. According to the press given yesterday, 485 arrested over deadly June 25th protest, says DCI. And DCI has also said that there were buses ferrying goons to Nairobi CBD for the protest. So that is something that we should also be looking at this morning. That is on the Star, or not the Star, the Daily Nation. We have the Standard giving prominence to matters related to abductions, where is Nyangui. And he last tweeted at around the 20, he was last seen on the 21st of June. And the DCI says, sisi tulienda huko tukachukua tu simu, atatukumchukua atujue ako wapi. So that is the message by the DCI. But Nyangui continues to be missing for now 11 days since the 21st of June until this 1st of July. He is still missing, and the court has directed that DCI produces him from wherever he is. But the DCI says it is not us. Hatuko na yeye. Is that even Kiswahili? We are not having him. He's not in our custody. That is the message by DCI. Just a reader, DCI boss Mohammed Amin is gradually turning into the country's lead trickster with a special gift for unleashing bouts of alternative truths. Wow, I love that. Alternative truths. In his continuing well-oiled PR stings defending the era of abductions, he denied the knowledge of missing blogger Nyangui Kinyagia hours after the court summoned him and the IG with a straight face as 21st century cheats Amin claimed to be also looking for him. A detail which he missed, however, is that when they went for Nyangui, his neighbor saw the vehicle, the model which Amin's team uses in their infamous raids. You know, when they talk about the model, you know the car they're talking about. That is the Subaru. That is on the Standard this morning. So many stories that we'll be talking about inside the newspaper, but those are just the headlines of the Star, the Standard, and the Daily Nation, all talking about protests, abductions, and the possibility of 2027 alignments and how the youth are going to be part of the 2027 election and all the campaigns. So that is on the newspaper review. Now at this point, we are going to take a look at what is happening on our roads and the weather situation. It is the 1st of June, and so many people are getting back to work. It is Tuesday, so you know, normally we expect the traffic situation to be very packed or moving slowly on Monday and Tuesday, but today, roads leading to town looking quite okay. If I look at Thika Road, where we are today, it's looking quite fine. It's flowing quite okay. I'm looking at other roads, and there is not so much to report today on the traffic because most of the lines I'm seeing, or most of the roads I'm seeing, are indicated green, except as usual where we expect from all soaps all the way to Motaiga interchange. Those people joining from Kiambu Road, your road looks not so well. So that is normal. You expect to see that. If you don't see that, it is quite abnormal. So that is the traffic situation. Not so many things to report on today. But if you look at that, the traffic is moving quite okay. So if I look at the weather based on Google, right now, for the last 3 weeks or so, it has been chilly, no rain, but it's cold. So that is right now it is 17 degrees Celsius, feels like 11 degrees Celsius, and that is in Nairobi. And for the next 72 hours, it's going to be the same. receiving lows of 14 degrees Celsius to highs of 23 degrees Celsius. That is in Ruiru. That is the situation in Ruiru. If I look at Kisumu, it is now 23 degrees Celsius. It feels like 19 degrees Celsius for the next 72 hours. They're going to be receiving lows of 19 degrees Celsius and highs of 28 degrees Celsius. Though tomorrow they're having a possibility of rainfall. That is in Kisumu. If I look at the coastal region, it is 24 degrees Celsius. Fair weather, feels like 20 degrees Celsius, quite warm compared to Nairobi. And today, for the next 72 hours, they're going to be receiving lows of 21 degrees Celsius and highs of 29 degrees Celsius. No sign of rainfall, but it will be partly cloudy. That is tomorrow and today. If I look at the northern part of Kenya, that is around Wajir, it is 29 degrees Celsius. Feels like 24 degrees Celsius. For the next 72 hours, they'll be receiving highs of 23 degrees Celsius, not highs, lows of 23 degrees Celsius and highs of 34 degrees Celsius. So it is just in Nairobi where we are having a chilled weather, and it is the month of July. This is a month here yenye mziki kama hii baridi ni mbaya. These are the times huwa zinatoka. So we don't want a situation where we're already having high population. So if baridi ni mbaya, please get yourself a blanket. And uji, please make use of sukari to improve our economy. Nunua sukari instead of waiting for the next 9 months to be buying diapers. Trust me, sukari is cheaper than diapers. So if you have to, then that's okay. But if you don't have to, let's not blame the weather for making bad decisions in our life. So that is on the weather and the traffic situation. At this point, we'll be taking a break. And then when coming back, I had informed you that we are having a feature that is running on telling us of what happened between the month of last year, comparing last year when the Gen Z movement was uprising, and this year when the Gen Z movement seemed to be hijacked by the political class who, by goons, seemingly the situation where we are saying we are leaderless is leading us into trouble, and everyone wants to be part or wants to be the leader of the young generation. So we'll be having that coming up next, and also the stories are related to mental health, men's mental health, and resilience, and also on our newspaper review.
My name is KUTV. I'm associate professor in the Institute of Philosophy of the University in Krakow, Poland, and I'm the main coordinator of the CAFE project, which is being here hosted by Kenyatta University.
I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
Access to knowledge. To answer questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and the possessing of property, intellectual property.
Malkia wa taarab katika mitindo ya kipwani hapa KUTV. Tunapozungumzia mitindo ya kipwani, basi unaona napigwa na mawimbi makali sana ya baharini kutoka katika ufuo wa hoteli moja inayofahamika kama North Coast Beach Hotel, ambao ndio wadhamini wa kipindi hiki cha mitindo ya kipwani. Mpenzi mtazamaji, kwenye mitindo ya kipwani hutakosa kupata mapishi ya vyakula vya kipwani. Tunazungumzia vyakula vilivyokolezwa, kuporombezwa, iliki, karafuu, abdalasini, samaki wa baharini, vyakula vilivyopikwa na kusukwa kwa kutumia nazi, bila kusahau mazungumzo ya moja kwa moja, mazungumzo ya kusisimua na wataalam tofauti tofauti, waandishi wa vitabu waliobobea, watunzi wa kuhani mashairi, bila kusahau mpenzi mtazamaji, taratibu zetu za taarabu na chakacha. Yaani pale ni pale ambapo yule wanawake vinazungusha kisawasawa kama boy za trekta ndani ya KUTV mitindo ya kipwani, ukiwa nami na wadau wako Waridi Tamu. Usikose matamu jamani.
You an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audiovisual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
Baada ya kutafuta kazi, tunaweza kuanzisha miradi yetu ambayo ingetusaidia kubadilisha maisha ya wazazi wetu. Kwa vijana, kwa sababu wengi waliofanya kazi, lakini ikiwa sisi wenyewe tutajiamini, tunaweza kujiajiri wenyewe.
Afrika kwa kweli tuna mahitaji ambayo ukiyasuluhisha unaweza kuathiri watu kwenye bara hili
Bila uoga, watu huwa na uzalishaji zaidi, wanajawa na ujasiri, wanakuwa wabunifu na wanakuwa wenye maarifa.
Niliamua kuacha kazi, hata kama sikufanikiwa, nitakuwa nimejaribu, nitakuwa najua haiwezekani.
Hakuna kitu cha ajabu hapa. Kila anayepata ufanisi hufanya kazi usiku na mchana.
Kitakusukuma na kuwezesha kupata maarifa ambayo hukuwa nayo.
Tunajaribu kutengeneza kitu kitakachopita mipaka nchi. Ikiwa unataka kubadilisha ulimwengu, anza na nyumbani.
All right, welcome back. Finally, we are here. I had promised you that you're going to have a discussion around mental health and especially men's mental health and their resilience when it comes to matters, talking about how they feel, what is affecting them, and how the society is taking this. And in studio, I am joined by a lady and a gentleman who are going to help us break this down, help us understand why is this conversation important. Is there a need to the society? How is this affecting our day-to-day life? How is this affecting our businesses? So before I get to introducing them, I see it's best fit for them to introduce themselves. I'll begin with the ladies first. Sue, kindly.
Hi, good morning. My name is Susan Mwangi. I'm a mental health champion.
All right. Okay.
Thank you for having me. My name is Matthew Weroletu. I'm a passionate mental health champion and creating safer spaces in our society for our community to have a safer environment to speak about mental health.
All right. Before we got live, I was just asking what inspired you to come up with this organization, or what inspired you to see that, okay, we need to do this? What was the inspiration behind coming up with this organization? Let me begin with this one.
Okay, in our community, we identified the gap. We saw there was a need for a safe space, for safe spaces, and that's when we started to have some meetings, and then it developed to cafes. Yes.
Well, we started this because we saw people are struggling silently. People don't have a platform where they can come and speak out about their mental health issues. So we decided to create a platform where people are safe to speak and get counseled and get help and support from us. So it's a self-motivation and motivation from what I'm seeing people struggling with mental health. Yeah.
Let me just begin with this controversial this idea or belief. In the past, when someone was talking about mental health, for example, let's take an example in a family setup where your mom amekukasirisha, and then you not retaliate, like you now want to show your mom that, you know what, mom, you can't do this to me, and then you're like, I'm not going to eat, and then at that point ungechapwa, you know, like why are you not eating? You could eat by force, and that I think it's some sort of hard therapy. So it raised people who are more resilient. Someone will be facing challenges in life, like someone will go angry, but someone is hopeful that, okay, at the end of it, I will get this. But if we see this current generation, the generation of mommy, daddy, don't do that, you know, a generation where the government is against you beating your own child. We've seen a generation where something minor, someone and a breakdown. So what do you think about this shift from hard therapy to the soft therapy? I'll begin with you.
Okay. I think we need to engage the youth in having the resilience. It's a shift, it's a hard shift, but going somewhere and talking about what you're going through in the right way, like you know how to approach things in the right way. The resilience is a right approach where people get to learn how they can do things in a positive way, not in a negative way.
All right. How do you take this shift?
Okay, initially, traditionally, we were tulionyeshwa kusuppress our emotions, so we were not expressing ourselves. Na kuponga na ile ati so tuligroup tukiwa hardcore. So, but this generation, they know how to open up, they know how to talk about how they feel, they know how to express themselves. So, tumeona difference in mental health. Our may improve, like us, to suppress emotions, atupunga nini open sana kama hawa wasai. And that's a huge milestone.
We are seeing a shift because if we look at the current generation, when let's take an example, someone saying that they have boundaries. These days, people talk a lot about, you know, you will hear conversations about being nonchalant, being toxic, being manipulative. And when you come to look at, if you dig deeper, why this person is saying this, for example, when it comes to men, someone who has really known themselves, known that if I do this, this is going to trigger my emotions. So if I'm dealing with someone who is not emotionally mature, that person may tend to think that I am nonchalant, I'm not showing any emotions. So at some point, do you think that this is raising a generation that is disconnected from reality?
Yeah, it's also shows that maybe some like you're getting into the person's ways of expression kwa sababu okay, because sisi kama tumejua this person is so toxic, but you cannot match the energy. Utaki toxic, yeye ni toxic. So it's about how to understand each and everyone's emotions. Yeah.
All right. So Matthew, let me get it from a man's perspective. Most of the time, people who are labeled as toxic are men. And I'm not a buyer of that narrative because I tend to be, I've dealt with people who have mastered themselves, people who have, known themselves as men. And a lot of times is the ladies who fail to do the, let me call it growing up mentally, the growing up mentally thing. So from where you sit, why do you think in a man's perspective, is this really being manipulative? Is this really being toxic, or what is it from a man's perspective?
I don't think we are toxic as men. Maybe it's the way the society carries people, because men tend to be strong. They are strong, but they don't have the eloquence to tell people how they feel. So they tend to be strong. They don't want to be labeled as manipulative or toxic. They just want to be strong, and in everything they do, they want to show people that they are strong. But in behind, there are things they are struggling with. But men really don't show that toxicity. Yeah.
So I think it's just for lack of words to express themselves.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Now that we're talking about men being strong, it is believed that men tend not to talk about their mental health for fear of being labeled weak. How do you demystify this, especially when talking to the men, encouraging them to, embrace mental health talks?
What I can tell my fellow men is it's good to talk whenever you are struggling with something. Look for someone to talk to. It's good to express yourself. It's okay not to be okay. Don't encourage yourself that you are strong, that you can handle things alone. Go speak to someone and you can get help easily. Because talking, you will get help, but keeping silence, you won't get that help.
How do you know that the talk has made the fruits, or the talk is effective?
The talk is effective because I happen to have a friend who was going through some depression, and through these cafes, he has been attending our safe space cafes, and I've seen gradual change in that. He has gone back to his business, and he's even active in our programs where he always says, I want you to speak about this, I want to speak about that. So I've seen a change from where he was till now. It's a scale of 10. Yeah.
All right, a scale of 1 to 10, it's 10.
10.
All right, so from where you sit, how do you handle this feeling of men? If a man talks, that is going to make them weak, especially when it comes to talking to ladies, because they say that a lady atakusoothe, atakubembeleza, like Delila Samson kind of thing. So atakubembeleza, you become vulnerable, and then after some time, she uses your vulnerability against you. So how do you handle such beliefs?
Okay, and like in our cafe, we have the mixed gender. We have men and women. And so far, we have seen men change because initially they were not opening up. Women were talking about the experiences, anything that is suppressing their emotions. They were talking about everything, but men were holding back. But by time, men started opening up. They saw that if women can talk about these things openly, so we can do it. We can do it also. In our cafes, we have seen gradually the people are changing. Men are talking, they're opening up and talking about their problems, unlike there before. Yeah.
All right. So it is something that you have a preference. What does someone do when they're not someone who talks? Not everyone talks. Even for ladies, there are ladies who don't talk about their problems. So how do you handle such situations?
So after the cafes, we say if you have a problem that you cannot share with us here, So you can come maybe after the session, you can approach me or Matthew or the other champions. Then we can talk about it. Or rather, if you're not comfortable with me or Matthew, then you can use the maybe you can use other channels. Like we have psychologists, we have facilities that you can approach if you're not comfortable talking to us. Yes.
I'm talking about a situation where something else that I can do apart from talking, because they say that connection is the opposite of addiction. If someone feels disconnected from the world, that person may tend to get to other addictions, like, excluding themselves, or, putting themselves aside away from others, getting into drugs, getting into, bad habits. So if someone is not someone who is able to connect, we're talking about someone who is, what is the name? Someone who is not outgoing, someone who is into themselves, they enjoy their own company and all that. This person will not be comfortable talking to you. This person will not be comfortable talking to a therapist. This person will not be comfortable in a group, talking in a group. So such a person, how do you encourage that person to, if that person is depressed, how do you get that person out of depression?
Sometimes we have activities outside talking. So we take walks. There is soccer, we play soccer. We have activities in the community like cleanups. So we have so many activities. If you're not comfortable talking to us, maybe in the activities, during the activities, we also have artists, the mural drawings. So in between, you'll find somewhere you're comfortable with. Yes.
All right. Now, Matthew, coming back to you from okay. If I say from a man's perspective, it's getting weird, but from where you see it as a man, what are the step by step? Because our viewer back at home, maybe they may not have a chance to get to talk to people, get to the barazas, or get to interact with others. Maybe they're busy at work or something. So what are the steps to step measures or procedures that a man can take? Because for ladies it's different. I will call my mom, rant and all that, but for a man, if that person is staying alone, how would you advise someone to move ahead in order to overcome the baggage they're having?
As I said earlier, men they do talk if they find a platform where they can speak. So it's not hard for men not to talk. So what they do, we have platforms. If you can speak to us, you can speak to someone who you can see. There is a call number where you can call somebody and you can talk freely if you don't want to talk to a psychiatrist or anyone. Also, we have sessions whereby we separate men from women, because the men don't really like talking where women are, because maybe I might talk and you might take my stories to others. So we tend to separate them from the women where they'll speak out. And they do speak actually. When men are together, they do speak. So I can encourage men, stop staying with your problems alone. Talk to a friend. It's good to speak to a friend. Get somebody who can help you. Don't stay quiet, because when you stay quiet, things get worse. And when things get worse, that's depression, that's mental illness. We don't want mental health to escalate to mental illness. Yeah.
Let's get this more real. I will ask you a question. When was the last time you talked to your father, uncle, and told them that you love them?
It's been long. Maybe I usually don't talk to my dad about my things. We men tend to talk more to their mothers more than their daddies. But through text, I'm very comfortable speaking to my dad and telling him I love you, dad, via text, but not via face to face. Okay, maybe it's fear, or we don't have that courage to speak to our daddies.
All right, just hold on there. Let me get back to this. When was the last time you called your father, or uncle, or the male figure in your life, telling them that you love them?
As ladies, we are daddy's girls, so we frequently talk with fathers mostly. Yes.
All right, so it's frequent.
Yeah.
Do you think this is the reason why men are having problem? Because of upbringing problem. I'll take an example of myself. Anytime my dad calls, he will tell me, you know what, daughter, I love you, have a good day. When I say, Dad, I love you, he'll say, I love you back. But when my brother says, Dad, I love you, he'll be like, what is your problem? Do you think this is the reason why conversations around how well we are? Because from having being comfortable telling your father that, you know what, Dad, I appreciate you, I love you, and I know that you're working hard and I love what you're doing. Because do you think that when we would be having that, it would change the way men interact among themselves?
Yes, when we change that perspective of like we should talk to our daddies and tell them what we need or what is disturbing us, it will create room for maybe supportive backgrounds from our parents. So I will tell people, our dear men, to be courageous. Try talk to your daddy. It doesn't. Your daddy won't kill you or beat you because you're telling him I'm suffering from this and that. So speaking out will really help. Just allow yourself just to speak freely to your daddy, and that's it. That's how conversation starts. If you start speaking and your daddy is telling you, yeah, you told me about this, I'm gonna support you with this. What are you struggling with? I can help you with this. I can connect you to someone or connect you to people who can help. Yeah.
All right. So how do you think this would change how we view speaking out?
So maybe the issue is maybe wazazi wa kitambo, they were not used to being told I love you mostly. Because even if I tell my dad, mzae jua tu mimi nakupenda, sema anacheka tu na anakata simu. So they were not used to being told they were loved. And they were not really loved. So tuna shift tu pole pole, tukiwaambianga tu pole pole. Yeah. Kama ni happy Father's Day, unamwish happy Father's Day. You're the awesome dad that I know you. And tutaenda tu tukichange pole pole.
I talk to Mel a lot, and some say that sometimes their mental problem is treated as women's mental problem. In this sense, a man would want to feel loved, would want to feel appreciated, would want to feel respected, would want to feel encouraged, because they are carrying most weight or the bigger burden. So when this thing lack in his life, he will feel alone, he will feel used. So in the process, someone anaanza kujirudi, anaanza get back to themselves, thinking that if I don't offer this, I won't get this. So it's like they're buying love or they're buying affection, and that gets them depressed. But for ladies, how their mental health works, for ladies, they just want, they just, like the way poets say that a damsel in distress. They're just there. If you give a lady a little care, they're okay. The mental health is gone. Like, for example, I can use an example of myself. I can be depressed, but anytime I get a confirmed you have received, I'm okay. But for a man, he may be depressed, but getting confirmed you have received may not solve his problem. So what do you think about this situation where men's mental health problems are treated like women's mental health problems, and rather than treating them how they really want to be treated?
The mental health gap really varies because men, the way they handle their mental health is different from us. Men tend to hold back or suppress their emotions. Unlike us, nikiwa na stress, I come run to you and that's it. Wanaume watahold. Every tiny anything, kitu kidogo tu wanajiekea. And then they pile up, and then it will come to a point that they will blow up. Ndio maana unaona wengi wanaingia mali, ukiingia into depression, sasa hapo inakuwa ngumu kutoka. Lakini sisi yetu ni ngumu kwa sababu we are talking, we are ranting, we are unpacking, but men don't unpack that frequently like that.
Matthew, how do you think we should be handling man when it comes to their mental health?
It's all about understanding a man. Understanding a man in ways he lives in, the burdens he carries, the calmness he is in. Because men don't really talk about their problems. They tend to be in a cocoon where they don't speak out. So I think women should carry men in a lighter way. Don't burden your man. You should always speak to your man, ask what problems he's facing, because men don't really show their weaknesses because they fear they're being labeled as weak. Yeah. So men should really not be burdened. They should be respected because they have responsibilities. You have business responsibilities, family responsibilities, and you also have your own problems of how to cope with your stresses in life. Yeah.
Do you think that women contribute to men's imbalance emotionally?
Yes, I do. Uh, in terms of maybe a woman doesn't see how a man is struggling with something, so a woman is really asking for too much. Like, I want to my nails to be made, I want my head to be made, I want clothes. You don't know how this man has been, or the financial stability of this man. So all these burdens for a man, it becomes stressful. That's a stress to a man. Yeah.
All right. Is that true? Do ladies contribute to men's mental imbalance?
Not totally, maybe kidogo tu, kwa sababu a man has stress, akona stress za kazi, za nini, za kulipa rent. Anakuja kwa nyumba, umeanza kumrantia, you are unpacking, but yeye anaongezea yake tu. So maybe tuna contribute partially but not completely.
Partially.
Kidogo tu.
Umeanza girl power. All right. From my seat, I think it is a problem with understanding from the person. Not everyone is the same. There's someone who can absorb. There's someone who cannot. So it's basically understanding a person. But now let's take a look at a different situation now. It's okay to have problems, yes, and solving problem is what we all crave. So where exactly, because solving a problem from the source is easier than solving a problem kama isha majua. For example, I am having let me talk from a girl perspective. I'm having a problem. I'm at home. Maybe I'm married. I'm taking care of the kids. I'm worried about the kids. I'm worried about my husband. I'm worried about how are they going to school and all that. So my problem is stemming from lack of security of how I'm naturally. So if I get security, I'm cool. That is from a woman's perspective. But what exactly is it from a man's perspective? Where exactly is their stress rooting from? Because we hear men don't talk about the problems. Men don't talk about what problems, where is this rooting from, and how can we solve them from the root?
Men problems comes from their maybe financial stability and maybe stresses which they get from people or from their women or the society. So the root cause is finding you as a person, as a man. First, know yourself. Know where my problem is. Try coping up with this problem because if you don't cope up with this problem, that's something that's gonna disturb you in life. So learn first to yourself. Okay, and be courageous to speak to somebody. Just find the courage to speak to somebody because if you speak to somebody, you're gonna unpack anything that's hidden in you. So first find yourself. Don't find your problems from another person. Find yourself first. Solve your problem first. And if they are too strong for you to unpack, find somebody who you can trust and speak to. Go to cafes like the cafes we have. You can also get to one-on-one call with our toll number of 1-to-1. they have a toll number 1190, where you can speak freely to a person who you can't see. Yeah.
All right. So what do you think, Sue, is the root cause of?
You know, but for men, and like us, sisi, if I'm overwhelmed, call my therapist. We have a one-on-one with my therapist. We will talk about it and we'll feel I'm light-weighted now. But wanaume out of 10, wanaume maybe wawili wenye wanaona therapist. But unlike me, sasa mimi nitatafuta solutions pole. So maybe men should be should be talking to someone. Na kuna hiyo one-to-one organization where you can talk to an anonymous person. Akujui au umjui, you talk to them free of charge. You dial 1190, you talk to them anonymously, and it's free. You're talking to certified psychologists.
It's finding, Matthew says you find yourself, know your own problem. Shida hazifanani. There's someone who has a problem ya pesa, kuna mwingine ako na problem ya my mom is sick, kuna mwingine ako na problem, my girlfriend is stubborn. Now that we're talking about the root cause of problems, psychologists say that this is interesting, that men fall in love with what is this hormone? The stress hormone. While ladies fall in love with dopamine. So they say that you need to, okay, it is a conversation that goes that you need to stress that man up. Is it that men really love stress, the chase, the fight, or is it something that is just put on them and they are coping with it?
I don't really think men do such things because it's all about the mentality. When the mentality is negative, everything will be negative. So I think
it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it's neither here.
Someone told me that okay, it's not someone told me. Men say that if you're dating someone who does not ask you for money, you will be poor. If you're dating someone who asks you for money, you will work hard. So is it that men really love stress, or is it tunawekea?
Siatupendi stress. No one loves stress. No one loves to be stressful. It's just maybe circumstances zinatupata. So we tend like to be more or less stressed, but we don't love stress because no one loves to be stressed. But these are things that come by. So it's all the way how you handle those things. You are adding up. You are being added up by your person. So when you know the way to handle these things, you will be in a better place. Yeah.
All right. So do you share the same sentiments?
Maybe energies attract same energies. So maybe if you're toxic, you attract toxic. Yeah.
So you believe in energies. If someone is toxic, definitely they will attract someone toxic.
Yeah.
All right. It's like you said, neither here nor there. It's consequence. All right. Now, therapy has not been taken so well. This even as we're bringing this home, therapy has not been taken so well, especially with men. Despite the fact that some say it's expensive, expensive is relative. That one, it's another topic. So some say it's expensive. Some say sitting down and talking to someone about your problem is not going to solve the problem. And talking about, things like going to the gym, things like taking your own personal initiative to like change. So from your experience, what do you think is the most effective way of dealing with the stress?
The most effective way of dealing with stress is self-care activities. Many people don't know how to take care of their stresses. They tend to lie on the negative aspect. Like when you have stress, you're gonna drink all day, and this stress will go. This stress won't go. So you are coping in it with it negatively. But when you know and realize that there are positive ways of coping up with stress, like self-care activities, taking a walk, changing the environment, talking to someone, drinking water. When you realize that there are so many things which you can do as a person to self-care yourself, this will remove all the stresses you have in life. So yeah, there's so many activities.
You're coping with it negatively. I love that because I was looking at men talking about how men are treated, and there was saying that one wolf is in light and the other wolf is in darkness. Which one will live? And someone said that the one in light, and then he was told that no, that's not the wolf that we live. The wolf that we live is the wolf that is fed. So if you're having constant thoughts of negative thoughts, you're continuously thinking of negative thoughts, that is the person that we live. If you're thinking of positivity, that is the person that we live. And I love that, coping with it negatively. From where you sit, what do you think is the most effective way of dealing with stress?
See, I said maybe even self-care, maybe taking walks, watching your diet, doing exercises. If you love coloring, I love coloring. If you love coloring or drawing, you do what you love. Yes.
All right. Still on that, do you think that if we talk about hobbies, it's one of the ways that it's used in coping with stress, finding something that you love. If you ask, let me ask you, now that you're the man on set, what's your hobby?
Singing.
Singing. Okay, so how often do you sing?
Every day, every morning, every time I feel like, yeah.
So if you ask, I love that. If you ask most men about their hobbies, most of them have 1 or 0. They will tell you that I love playing football. If you're someone who is working, how often will you be playing football? If you're someone who goes to work daily, have bills to pay, how often will you go, and play football? If someone you like hiking, how often will you go hiking? And remember, if you do the same thing continuously, it gets boring. So I think the issue of having other things to distract your mind of what you're thinking is something that men should also embrace. What do you think about that?
There are so many ideas of which a man can do. Maybe at your own free time, you can go play PS with your fellow men. Go watch movies, go to cinemas, go to theaters. Like, try and get yourself in activities in your free time whenever you're not engaged with things.
What do you think about hobbies?
Finding what you love and what you love doing is the best thing kwa sababu could distract from your troubles. Yes, kama if you don't have a hobby, maybe you can do, kuna wanaume wanaendanga days za wanaume, nacheza pool, kuna wenye wanaendanga kwa uwanja kuwatch wasi wakicheza ball. It's also something I love doing and it will distract you from stress.
All right. Yes. Do you think men are doing enough for themselves? Like you say, for women, there are also inua mwanamke mwenzako. There are so many women groups or chamas. Someone will just call you, Kilia, big girl, what is happening? They're gentle on you. But when it comes to men, I think you guys are not doing enough for yourself. Because like you said, even your friend, just checking up on your friend, hey man, how are you doing? Do you think men are doing enough for each other?
I don't think men are doing enough for each other because men don't take on each other. They don't speak out for each other, and they don't have supportive maybe groups where they can create something financially for themselves. So I don't think men do care for each other because hata ukipatana nao ni kusalimiana, they don't speak anything positive of growth or importance to them. So I think men in a way they're not
doing enough for each other.
Doing enough for each other. Unlike women, they do enough for each other. They are supportive to each other. Yeah.
All right. Now let's talk about the cafes that you hold. How do you hold them, and how effective are them, and how can someone be part of it?
Okay, we have cafes at our village in Soweto. We have two groups where we meet twice in every month, and people come and speak about their mental health. They get counseled and get referrals where they can, when their issues escalate, they can get more further help. Yeah.
How does someone become part of it? So,
If you want to join, you can come into our cafes. There is no limitation. You just join. Then it's a safe space. We encourage confidentiality. So anything we speak in that room, hakuna kwenda nje. I should not hear ati, nani alisema, it's battling some, we should know. So it's in between us. So we encourage confidentiality. And then if we are first aiders, psychologists, yani first aiders peke yake. So if the issue, you see the issue so big for you to handle, so you refer to someone else or to a facility near you where they have professional psychologist, ama you refer the person to, if the person is not willing to talk ile kabisa and they're battling something, so you refer them to the one-to-one sessions where they talk to anonymous person so they can let out everything they want. Yes.
is it only in Soweto or it's spread across?
Okay, we are still kuna Mathare, there is Mukuru, and there is us. So it's something big.
All right.
Anyone can join, any they can join.
From interaction, is there an age group that you see is really taking up the cafe meetings than the other group?
As for our cafes, the youth are taking the mantle so much because the older generation, they don't want to join the cafes. They don't have time. But the youth, they are the most affected. So we're dealing mostly with the youth.
All right. From your interaction also, are there plans to scale up, or it's just the targeted areas? Because I'm looking at a situation here, for example, I'm from Roysambo and I want to be part of the team. How do I get to be part of the team?
In future, we are planning for a scale up, but first we have to deal with the society, because it's the beginning of everything. Because we are beginning, it's just a beginner. We have not escalated. We are just planning to escalate, but not for the meantime.
All right.
Yeah, we first want to deal with the people in the society who were never having this platform before. Yeah.
Like the people we are dealing with, if at all in the process they become the mental health champions too. So they will become like teachers of others. They will be the TOTs of others.
All right.
Yeah.
So is it an interaction that mostly, because you've said the youth, is it an interaction that mostly covers, what group is it? The people who are mostly unemployed or employed?
Most of our groups, they are young mothers and young fathers, and they are unemployed.
All right.
Most are unemployed.
So that is where the problem is. The problem is unemployment.
Yeah.
All right. I had someone say that money is not everything in a relationship, but the moment you lose it, you realize that there's nothing that can move on in that relationship. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for making time for us this morning. I'd love for you to give us your final remarks and what you'd like to tell someone back at home, especially the men. How can they better themselves? How can the society take care of the boy child?
Okay, maybe my take home would be talk to someone, be open, don't hold back, and do you. Yes.
Do you? Yeah. All right, Matthew.
What I can tell my viewers is it's okay not to be okay. Find a supportive group where you can talk to somebody. Come to our cafes, which are safe spaces. Confidentiality is created, and let's create a healthier community in our society. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll also give you a viewer back at home a final take on this conversation surrounding or revolving around men's mental health and the resilience. So for you to become a better person, you need to understand the root cause of the problem. So you cannot solve a problem without knowing the source of the problem. The first thing is understanding yourself, knowing whether your character is as a result of trauma or you're just a strong person. Some people say they're strong, but when you look at it, really, it's as a result of trauma. When they were growing up, they were told, you know, you have their feelings were not, you know, taken care of. So they've grown up taking care of themselves, thinking that they're strong, but in real sense, it's just trauma reaction. So know the problem. If you're having childhood traumas, try solving them before getting into meeting someone else who has their own traumas so that you can be a better person. That has been On the Launch with Susan and Matthew, talking about mental health, especially men's mental health. Coming up next is newspaper review with our very own Bluesman Hassan, and stay tuned for that discussion. And we'll be joined also by Frederick. Stay tuned for that discussion.
Miti, panda. Our planet's future is in our hands. However, there is a threat to the brightness of this tomorrow. On Earthquake, we share the challenges, the solutions, and the hope.
I would call this a very momentous day, a very critical day.
Every episode, every story, every step we take creates a ripple. Join me, the environmentalist Emmanuel Kutupsi, on KUTV every Wednesday at 8 p.m. and be part of Welcome.
Hi, my name is Stella Chioi.
Jina langu naitwa Okemwa Mkwa James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndo wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu umwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia,
They find it quite strange talking to you.
We should just make schools integrated,
Inclusive setups.
by providing the right facilities.
Ni nguzo na uso wa jamii. Kupanda shuka akawa tuzo, ukakamavu wake ukati na kumfanya mwenye bidii kwa machozi na makeke, akabaini jinsi ya kuini. Huyu ni mwanamke ngangari kwa jinsi alivyo ng'aring'ari. Usikose kutazama kipindi cha mwanamke mwake nami Caroline Kibwe.
Baada ya kutafuta kazi, tunaweza kuanzisha miradi yetu ambayo ingetusaidia kubadilisha maisha ya wazazi wetu. Kwa vijana wenzangu wengi walio kazi, lakini ikiwa sisi wenyewe tutajiamini, tunaweza kujiajiri wenyewe.
Afrika kwa kweli tuna mahitaji ambayo ukiyasuluhisha unaweza kuathiri watu kwenye bara hili
bila uoga. Watu huwa na uzalishaji zaidi,
wanajawa na ujasiri, wanakuwa wabunifu na wanakuwa wenye maarifa.
Niliamua kuacha kazi. Hata kama sitafanikiwa, nitakuwa nimejaribu, nitakuwa najua haiwezekani.
Hakuna kitu cha ajabu hapa. Kila anayepata ufanisi hufanya kazi usiku na mchana.
Kitu kitakusukuma na kuwezesha kupata maarifa ambayo huku na
tunajaribu kutengeneza kitu kitakachopita mipaka ya nchi.
Ikiwa unataka kubadilisha ulimwengu, anza na nyumbani. Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audio-visual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
Access to knowledge. Solution to unanswered questions.
Sidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual property.
And only
All right, welcome back. We have just had a discussion on men's mental health, and I'm joined in studio by gentlemen, and I shall be asking them about their mental health state. But before we get into that, 1 year ago, there was a movement that arose in the country, that is a Gen Z movement. It's a movement that involves both the Gen Zs and the millennials, but we all term it as Gen Z movement. And now we have a feature on resilience and remembrance. This brings us to events from last year and up to now. What transpired, what lessons can we learn from it, and what good has it done for our country? What do you expect after this or past this movement? What do we expect, especially in the political field, where we're expecting every person, kila mwanangoma anavuta kwake, when it comes to having Gen Z's part of their political party or part of their alliance. So that is what we're going to be looking at right now, a feature on resilience, from resilience to remembrance. Coming up after that, we'll be having the newspaper review.
The streets are peaceful now, but the echoes of our rage and resilience still persist. It's been a year since we rose up against the finance bill, and it feels like a lifetime ago. The bill was just the spark that ignited a fire that had been burning for so long. A fire that was fueled by our frustrations, our pain, and our determination to be heard. On June 25th, 2024, tens of thousands of Gen Z protesters took to the streets across Nairobi and 38 other countries for a powerful act of rejecting the finance bill. We were the youth, armed with nothing but our conviction,
our courage, and our voices, but we were met with brutality, violence, and loss of lives that will never be forgotten. This was not just a protest, it was a cry for justice. I can't look at the picture in the frame. Your eyes, they call my name. A row of generation refusing to be silenced. The 2024 demonstrations were about years of frustrations, broken promises, and stolen futures. It was just the youths rising and demanding to be seen and heard. In the streets, we found more than resistance. We found unity. In the chants, we found our voices, and in the pain, we found purpose. Albert Ojwang's face is stuck in our minds. A young man with dreams, hopes, and a future that was cut short. His story is one of the many that haunts us still. We carry his name not just in chants, but in our hearts as a reminder of what was lost and why we still fight. The powers that we thought could silence us just made us louder. All they did was fuel our anger. We are still angry, still hurting, but we are hopeful that one day we'll have a country that values our lives, our voices, and our stories. On June 25th, 2025, it marked the anniversary of the Gen Z uprising, a day meant to honor those we lost, but instead, the same pain returned. Peaceful protesters were beaten and lives were taken. The very system we stood against showed us once again that it had not changed. Yet, even in the face of fear and violence, people rose. We rose with broken hearts but unshaken spirits. We rose not just for justice, but for each other and for it all. We still believe in a Kenya where voices are not punished but protected, where dreams are not buried but built. We carry our grief, but we also carry light. We'll keep remembering, we'll keep resisting, and we'll keep rising for a better tomorrow.
All right. What we get from the future is, despite everything that has been happening for the last 1 year or so, there's still hope and a hope for a better tomorrow. And that is something that we are focused on this morning. A lot is happening. Tayari Wakenya wamekasirika, and we don't want to wakasirisha again. We'll be talking about stories of hope this morning on the newspaper review. But before we get into diving deep into what is shaping our country at the moment, I'll allow the gentlemen with me in studio to introduce themselves. Let me begin.
I am Frederick Baya. I am a human rights lawyer. I'm an activist. Yeah, a very passionate activist. And I'm an advocate for change. Yeah.
So if you're an advocate for change, that means you believe there is hope.
I believe there is hope.
That's a great point to start from.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity once again. Let me, I'm not an advocate, but I would also today brand myself as an advocate of hope or advocate for hope. So it's a nice morning, and the conversation is around hope. Let's jump on it and on with it, and let's see if there's actually hope for this nation.
I don't know if there's hope for this nation, because if I look at the dailies, okay, I say there's hope, and I'm also the one doubting if there's hope. If we look at the dailies, we have the two papers, the Daily Nation and the Standard, both of them having negative headlines. The Standard is having a health story, share scandal, the effectiveness of Kenya's most expensive healthcare system, put in place, this is the Daily Nation, put in place to remedy the theft of taxpayers' money that plagued the defunct NHIF has been put to question after some 31 hospitals across 13 counties were found running elaborate deception schemes involving double billing, fake outpatient claims, forced and ghost admissions, as well as pre-authorization code abuses. The revelation of the scam could just be the tip of the iceberg. That is the Daily Nation. The Standard is talking about where is Gangui, the blogger who was last seen on the 21st of June 2025. Now let's begin this discussion on this note. We have the young generation mostly, because that is a story given prominence on the Star. The young generation is keen on holding the government accountable. And one of the areas they're saying, or the area that the government is saying has worked in reshaping it to function, is the health sector, the education sector, and should I say the housing sector? Yes, those are the three main areas that the government is looking at. So the health sector, a highly contested sector with the introduction of SHA, which is supposed to solve the problem of corruption. Right now, as we see, the watchdog anatuambia kwamba 13 counties, Kakamega, Homa Bay, Vihiga, Kisumu, Wajir, Busia, Bungoma, Nairobi, Kiambu, Mandera, Kilifi, Nakuru, and Kajiado, they are having problems when it comes to accountability or prudence when it comes to managing our funds. One may think that the government was not ready. You see that situation where you want change but you're not ready for change. Unataka kuanzisha biashara, umeona okay, biashara inafanya kwa huyo mtu mwingine, maybe kwangu pia itafanya. Then you begin it without a plan. We've seen that situation in SHA, and right now CBC it will be changed to CBE, because apparently there are things that are not working right in the country. One may think that the government is making changes without knowing how to execute them or how well to execute them. Blosman, from where you sit, do you think that we should be trusting government with introducing new programs, because it is barely a year since SHA was introduced and we already have 31 hospitals recording cases of corruption?
Well, there's a problem of starting new things, because it takes a grace period of giving the ideas to actually come to implementation. We're talking about just talking about a small organization. We're talking about the whole nation. Maybe it might work in some counties, other counties maybe it will be a problem. And then the nature of Kenyans, especially people in the country, we have these characters who are fraudsters. So they were there in NHIF, and right now they're actually reintroducing themselves, they are reinventing themselves even in SHA, because they were maybe this is their plan of fake medical records, and then they get the reimbursement from the government. So maybe the same characters are still there. So we really need to see the government not just to introduce something, to work on the problems because the government thought that now if we do away with NHIF and then we bring SHA, it means that the corruption that was in NHIF was actually going to be forgotten. But this is the same. These are the same health facilities that we're talking here about here. So being the same facilities, I think we really need to look at the root cause of this whole corruption because it's like we having an action where we are tolerating fraudsters because they were there in NHIF, no one was prosecuted. In fact, some of the hospitals were they were registered from NHIF, and then later now with SHA and SHIF, they're actually back and they're actually doing the same mistakes. So I think we really need to have a direct, I mean, a different direction on how we're handling this. On government introducing every new thing with CBC and CBE, I think the government was really struggling to come up with something that they will be remembered for. A new idea, a new identity, maybe the Kenya Kwanza identity. Leave alone, you know, with Uhuru Kenyatta, political now, Uhuru Kenyatta had his own identity as a president. Now Ruto is in place, he wanted to bring, you know, the William Ruto regime now, the William Ruto Kenya that had SHA, had CB, now it's CBE, had affordable housing, and these flagship programs, by the way, are a good thing. It's only that we have a problem in this country on implementation because it's very good on paper, and when William Ruto, the president, stands on the podium or on top of their vehicles, he clearly states the plan of this agenda. But again, on the implementation, that's where the problem is because maybe the president may be a very good communicator, but the guys who are down there implementing are not very good implementers.
Mm-hmm. Is it right to say that the government is selfish? Because if you're having a problem in your house, there's a smell in the house. Do you burn the house or do you look for where the smell is coming from? Because from where we sit, it's like there is just a plan to, you know, my government did this, my government did this. But it's not looking at how is this benefiting the people. What the people are complaining is we are having corruption in hospitals. Why not find the root cause of corruption other than finding something entirely new to, you know, make your image, and in the end of the day, it's not even solving the problems?
That's still my question to the government. But I think the whole problem with this system, you know, it's not a William Ruto problem, it is a systematic problem that has been there. People believe, or the government might be believing, that when we reintroduce the whole thing, maybe people will forget about this corruption. But again, we need to have a conversation on the same, because most of these hospitals maybe are owned by politicians. Some of these hospitals are even owned by medical doctors. Some of these hospitals, maybe if I may say, they're even owned by officials in the health insurance you know, sector. So we really need to look at this problem because it is more of untouchables. Yeah, we do this and there's nothing that will be done to us. And this is the reality, despite the side that you are there politically. This is the reality on the ground. So I agree with you that we need to have a good audit, a very fresh, a wholesome audit into this matter, and perhaps maybe we'll be looking to solve this problem from the root cause.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. From where you sit, do you think that this is okay? It is a problem, systemic problem, but do you think the government is fit to handle that problem? Because we know that it's a systemic problem, and that's what we want it solved. But that's not what you're saying. So, what's your take on this?
As at now, I think it's a paradox. We don't really. I cannot say we can really trust the government in introduction of new systems. For example, the SHA, because you see, if you want the people to trust you, you have to do your due diligence, right? So if you're introducing a program, you should have done your due diligence and you know how money will move, how everything will be done. So if you introduce a system, for example, SHA, and we see that, you know, there's an elaborate scheme of how people can swindle, how people can, you know, take advantage of loopholes, I don't really think the people can trust that. You see, so my take, I don't really think that we can trust the government in introducing new systems. That's one, because you know, yeah, it's a paradox.
It is. All right. So, this is something that the government should not be excused for. You think so?
Yeah.
All right. Let's leave it at that. The government should
But if actually we add on something, but let's look at the good side of this project. You know, we the NHIF we used to have very many cases, but right now, you know, this is just 31 counties, so they are success stories.
31 counties,
and not just
less than a year.
no, listen, and then it's not about it's not every hospital in all those counties, just some specific numbers of those number of hospitals. So, in the message in the spirit of hope, let's look at these other many hospitals that actually do not have these cases, and then and see if we can actually borrow the strategies that these hospitals are employing to make sure that we are having the same cases that we are seeing in these small hospitals which are waiting out, that we are finding out they're full of corruption. So in the spirit of hope, let's be hopeful and implement and copy and benchmark.
Just
Then we can start.
You see, I want to remind Bruce of something. 1 month before the introduction of SHA, the MPs realized that 21 billion was lost and an additional 368 billion was lost to corruption. You see, and they told us it was an overcharge, you know, typing errors. That brings us to a total of 300 and about 89 billion that was lost in NHIF. You see, so when they introduced SHA, we are seeing that, you know, barely a year, we are seeing it's like a loophole that has been explored already, and they have not told us the amount that has been swindled, you know. So they are telling us something that we cannot really check. You know, we cannot fathom around what you are telling us. We cannot be hopeful. Come on, you know, we are seeing NHIF 389 billion lost. And now we are talking about SHA, barely a year. We are not even told the figure because probably it's beyond 389 billion. So you cannot sell hope on that.
But you know, people are actually registering for SHA daily. People are keep on registering for SHA, meaning that SHA is actually the future of the Kenyan health, whether we want it or not. This is the future. So we really need to have a conversation on, not just because it's not working or we don't want it. It is already in place. So let's have a conversation as a country on how we can weed out the corruption. Of course, it's very hard because I've already said that maybe the elements of corruptions in this country maybe are the ones maybe on the helm of this thing. But we really need to have a conversation. The same way maybe the Gen Z are pushing for other things, they can actually come and push for accountability. So I'm not actually conflicting with this idea. I'm saying that in the spirit of hope, let's fix the SHA problem.
There is a spirit of hope, but then there is a spirit of, you know, before this, there's a budget for strategic plan, there's a budget for advisors, there's a budget for, you know, all these things. And we expect that when you're introducing, like you're saying, oh, this one is not functioning, we need to make another one that is functioning. We expect that it is thoroughly thought of. And we are not giving the government a pass on this because if you understand the systemic loopholes in NHIF, that means that for someone to come up with another idea of how they can swindle money from a health fund, that means it's going to take them time. But this one is barely a year. So that means it is just the old tricks that have been used in this place. We're talking of systems like, I believe, if you're using SHA or if you're deducted SHA anyway, you're told that it's not working for outpatient and all that. So who is this working? What is this working for? And for the few that it has worked for, why are there problems? Because if you look at SHA also, it's not solving all the problems of the country. There is SHA, there's chronic illnesses fund, there is the emergency. So this one is just the basic that is majorly used on below level 3 facilities, and they're not so much in the country. So that means that it is a crisis. And in as much as we want to talk about hope, I believe that this one is it needs salvation.
You see, President Ruto was very intentional and deliberate in his campaign against NHIF. You see, the selling point of SHA was to weed out corruption. And what SHA is telling us here, that they have detected corruption. You see, in 31, it's 31 hospitals, right?
Yes.
31 hospitals in about 13 counties. So the selling point of SHA has it turned from weeding out corruption to detecting it. You see, we could detect corruption in NHF. So if you want to tell us you're selling hope,
but again, let's look at whatever is happening to these 31 hospitals, because we maybe it has actually been detected, but what is actually happening to this? Have they been maybe their license been revoked? And then on the same point is you said that SHA is actually not working, but again, let's look at no, you didn't say it's not working.
I didn't say it's not.
You said
I said it does not work on outpatient.
On outpatient, but actually go look. They actually on a number of insurances that are actually working. Let's talk about the government employees or the civil servants, if we put it right. They actually have outpatients, maybe some area, but actually the last time I checked, which was like a few weeks ago, there's actually improvement in the numbers in the outpatient area, because some Kenyans actually going and getting the outpatient, going to hospitals and coming back and actually be covered by SHA. But it's not like every Kenyan. I've not done the statistics and maybe the survey and actually get that every Kenyan is enjoying the outpatient, maybe medical services. Okay. Then, so there's actually improvement, because right now, even the political discourse around SHA is not that people are not actually, leave alone politicians, people are actually not speaking that SHA is not working. There's a lot of improvement on SHA. And this is the spirit of hope, that in the same spirit that you started this interview, we should actually see, you know, when a white paper and then is put here and maybe there's a black mark, maybe most of us will be focusing on the black mark. But let's look at this whole whiteboard around.
Do you know why we're focusing on the black markets? Because we're not paying for SHA willingly. It's like a mandatory thing. Like, you will be deducted SHA whether you like it or not. So if it's something you're forced to do, that means you should also force for results.
It's okay. It is your democratic right to force to look for the results. But I'm also saying that as you look for the results, appreciate the good work that is actually happening.
All right.
I will not say that you should appreciate the good work. I would say SHA is working. But to this context, SHA is working with the hospitals that are able to swallow money. The 31 hospitals. It's working for them, and not for the common man down there. So that's what I'll tell my friends.
All right. Now let's move on to a different topic. In the spirit of hope, let's hope Adendwale says we'll pursue all fraudulent actors to the full extent of the law, including criminal prosecution and full restitution of illegally obtained funds. We hope that happens.
Yeah.
All right.
He's a good minister.
Before we go to the next topic, I don't think that will happen. Because they did not name even the hospitals. We were not told that. The amount.
Actually,
the full report is on page 4 and 5 of the standard of the Daily Nation.
Page 4. Even in page 4, we don't have the names of the hospitals yet. This is what he said. He said that they are compiling the file and they will send it to DCI. You see? So
again, you actually a lawyer, you cannot reveal things that are investigations.
I know. But again, I'm telling you, with the Kenya that we have, I know that this will not happen very soon.
We are here to watch. When we see that happens, we'll be here once again to discuss about it. Now let's move on to the standard. They've given prominence to the story of Nyangui, who has been missing from the 21st of June 2025. And there are several tweets that he made. He actually made the program. He gave us the timetable of what is going to be happening during the protest. So many big ones. And the DCI say that they're also looking for him. And the standard is saying that the DCI boss is unleashing alternative facts here and there. So the public seem to be losing trust in our security forces. That is the DCI, the police. I don't know about the judiciary yet, because apparently we say that LSK president is the only working president. Not my words. But we have seen Kenyans losing hope in the security forces, because when we look at what transpired on June 25th, we had the city was managed by goons, because despite the fact that this guy say around 285, is it 285 have been arrested, not 200, 448 have been arrested in relation to the June 25th protest, but we've seen Kenyans losing hope. The case of Nyangui is another one, because right now, let me ask this. Are Kenyans misusing their freedom of expression?
Kenyans are not misusing their freedom of expression. We must understand one thing. You see, freedom of expression includes the freedom, the right to offend. So, if an opinion is unpopular, it's unpopular to you. Not like it, let it be unpopular. But it's my freedom. I express myself. You see, so with freedom of expression, it has the freedom to offend. So if I offend you, but something that's a legitimate freedom of expression, you not have you cannot say that somebody is misusing his right. You see, so yeah.
Yes, one, do you think Kenyans are misusing that right?
I think we know about the advantage or the sweetness of this freedom, but we are not actually keen on the limitation of this freedom. But I think once you start speaking about the limitation, you become very unpopular, because this is the majority is actually aware that let's speak this wherever you actually seem to be against these people or this group or the wave, if I may say, you're actually getting unpopular. But with the case of Nyangui, let me just say that in the spirit of hope, I do not I want to change how I'm speaking on the cases of abduction. We cannot, two wrongs cannot make a right. So, if at all, whatever the DCI say that Tiago is a person of interest, then let's have a warrant of arrest. Let's do it the right way. If actually his freedom of speech, maybe or expression, actually under let's say it conflicted with someone else's freedom, let's say the head of state in this matter, then let's do it on the right legal procedure, not maybe this kind of abduction that we're seeing. And then also to the people who actually expressing themselves, do it the right way. Because I won't lie to myself and come on television, national television, and say that whatever Nyangui said was okay, it was right. I won't say that, and then I won't even come say whatever DCI is doing is right. I'm saying let's follow the law, because the problem here that even the young people are saying, President Ruto and your government follow the law. The same government is telling everyone, is telling Kenyans that no one is above the law. So let's abide by the constitution, and the constitution should be supreme.
You know, Blue Smile, not picking a side is also picking a side.
But it's safe.
Not safe. If you're not going for the fight, that means you're supporting the fight to be lost.
But in the spirit of hope and a better Kenya, because the national discourse right now is that we need to have a dialogue. We need to go post this protest and post this check stamping. So I want to be that advocate of hope and say that it is let's wait for the next election. But even as we go to the next election, we have a country.
Well, who do we have a dialogue with? Because if someone offends me, if I've lost a loved one, I go to the police. But if I go to the police who are allegedly abducting, who are abducting those perpetrators or those people who appear to be expressing their rights to, speak freely, the people I'm supposed to go to report to, or okay, for example, the parent of Nyangui is supposed to go to the DCI, aseme mtoto wangu amepotea. Like sasa akienda kwa DCI, those are the people she believes, those are the people who are my kids, and then they tell you hamna. So where do you go to?
Maybe if I or
yeah. So this case of Nyangui, it's a very interesting case. You see, from what I know, DCI went to his house without a warrant, and due process. Everything was done and professionally, not in accordance with the constitution. You see, So it's very evident that it's the DCI that went to Diangui's place. And then after that, Diangu is not seen. So you're coming to tell us here, you're telling us an alternative truth. Yeah, that we don't know where Diangu is. You see. So what should the parent do in this case?
The second days, the neighbors were threatened because they were told not to tell anyone what happened. After telling them I'm the mother is when they opened up and told us what happened.
Exactly, that's the point. You see, so we are in a state of intimidation. You know, the DCI want to intimidate people. You know, they want to force disappearances, abductions. They want to force people to do things that they probably don't want to do. You get? So that's why you have the media, right? You know, we have to do oversight. We have to check, fact check every time. If you say this, you know, the next time you say this, in fact, is this correct? You get? We'll not let you go freely like some guy with alternative truths.
All right, but as a country right now, are we safe? Because the media is like a watchdog.
Yeah.
But we've had a situation where the government said that they have a right, you know, kuwazimia, you know, kwambia okay, nyinyi, enough is enough. Now leo hamuonekani, because we're heading in that direction. There is public intimidation, there is activist intimidation, there is media intimidation. So who is left to speak up for the country?
The Gen Zs are left to speak for the country. You see, these people are forgetting one thing. The Gen Zs right now, I will tell you three things. One, the Gen Zs form about 60% of the voters. If you combine the Gen Z and the millennials, we are about 60%. You see, second, we are very political awake. And third, we control the social media space. So they are forgetting one thing, that you cannot regulate over 30 million phones outside there. There are cameras rolling everywhere. It does not matter if you switch off the cameras. I mean, if you switch off the TV stations, we have cameras rolling all over. You get this TikTok, you know, Twitter, and everything. So the state should not be. It should not intimidate media houses. You know, we need free media. We need media that can really scrutinize the government. Media that can tell the common man this is happening and this is what the government is doing. You get? Yeah.
It's called the fourth estate, the fourth power after, you know, the executive and all that. Now we are still looking at the cases of the DCI. Let me not bring that up, but the DCI says that goons were ferried to Nairobi via buses, and it is something that if I look at it, if you look at the Mau Mau movement, it began as something that used to solve social problems. Personally, I have an aunt who says that before, this is just a short story, before she had twins and they separated with the husband, and then the only way that she could get the kids was using mungikis. So for her, mungikis are, you know, a good thing because they helped her. And she says that they used to give taxes to Mungiki to support the movement. And she says that if it was managed well, Mungiki could lead well. But now if we look at it from the governance perspective, people lose trust in the police, because something like that, you ask someone who has ever gone to a police station, either reporting, especially reporting rape cases, reporting domestic violence, they will tell you kwa polisi don't go, because watakwambia eka gari mafuta, you know, things like that. So we've seen a situation, and those who were goods at that time, they managed. What happened when the leadership ikasambaratika? We saw Mungiki is killing people, wanakuua na goreti, kichwa yako inapatikana Kikuyu, mguu inapatikana Rongai, you know, something like that, because it's something that it's not controlled. Now we have a situation also where we have goons that are paid to, you know, destabilize protesters or destabilize the Gen Z movement or whatever, the so-called demanding accountability. So we have a situation like that in the country. Now, right now, they're organized. And no goons are not loyal. goods go to where money is.
The highest bidder.
The highest bidder. So what do you think of, or do you think the DCI is able to manage the goods as they say? Because yesterday we saw the DCI boss say, we will manage it. But from, we had stories, or we had the national intelligence, we have national intelligence in the country. They knew that there were going to be goons. We saw nothing happen. The goons came. 7 days later, we are told that the goons were ferried to Nairobi. So do you think that the DCI is really able to manage goons?
Before I comment on that, I will say one thing. You see, in Kenya right now, the status quo is indeed you have freedom of speech. I mean, freedom of expression. But now, your freedom after the expression is not guaranteed. So I will be very careful with my wording. You see, how can the DCI manage the goons? How can they manage the goons? If the other day we saw police escorting the goons, so how are you even telling me that you will manage the goons? If I can see the police themselves, you see, escorting goons, protecting them, you know, how are you even telling me that you're gonna manage the goons? You know, I cannot understand that. You know, honestly, it does not make sense. So this is an alternative truth.
All right, with alternative truth.
Okay, I would actually say that it is not the work of the DCI to manage the goons, but rather the National Police Services. And it's not, the word is not managing. They should apprehend the goons. Because now managing it will be as if it is a function of their, it is, let's say, an extension of the service. But it is not. Goons are goons. And as a good student of history and literature, I'll say that we ought to learn just not from our experience or past experience, but even the experience of our neighbors, and maybe the world. We see the situation that is happening in Haiti. We saw it during the Mungiki times and the clashes during the 90s. Because just you maybe think, maybe I wouldn't say call names, but maybe you might think that okay, it's good because it is in there are people saying that for you to be a politician, you should have, let's say goons, you should have a gang, not just nationwide, but even in your constituency, that they can actually maybe do some errands for you, which is bad, by the way. So if that is the situation, and then now we are seeing it just not from the constituency level, we are seeing it even nationally, people coming with goons to the city, and then it's not just about what we are seeing. We can hear it's about what people are saying. They're saying that kikuza tutapatana na nyinyi. There's some leader actually who said that last time nilipata off guard, but this time nilipata nikuwa ready. And then whatever we saw is whatever was the outcome of his talk. But in the spirit of hope, I am a reformed person. I'm saying that two wrongs cannot make a right. So we as Kenyans, we need to look at this situation and condemn it. And not just condemn it, we need to call out those leaders. Not just calling out those leaders. We need to say that this leader who orchestrated this violence, whatever the political side he is, we really need to mark him and say that this is not the Kenya we want. This is not the leader we want.
That is what is happening, because you see, when you're having a country that is having so many guns or so many people who can be swayed, that means that country is having an economic challenge. Because if I am having work to do, you can't tell me that you give me 1,000 bob niende nipige watu. That is very impossible. So this is a governance problem.
I wouldn't say it's a governance problem. I'll say it's a structural, let's say a sociological problem, the structure of our society. That we have the leading class, so we have the hierarchy, where on the top is the high class or the political class, then we have the middle class, and then we have the rest. So, most of these goons actually in the rest. As Kenya, maybe majority of the Kenya, we actually in the rest of this hierarchy, because these goons is not something that we just say that this thing happens. Let's look at the Albert Ojwang's case. What is the information coming to us that goons were actually paid and were actually given alcohol, according to the confession by one Mukwana. If I'm getting his name right, the police officer who was in charge, he said that he was asked to, according to his words, if I may quote them, he said that he asked goons, he paid them alcohol, he was given some few thousand, then gave them alcohol, and then they did whatever they did. So it is not just about politicians or goons being vulnerable to, maybe easily to sway. I'll say that there are many goons, as much as there are many protesters, there are many young people, many goons, especially from the suburbs. And not suburbs, from the what do you call this? The likes of Kibera, the likes of Mukuru, the ghettos and slums. They're actually there. And Nairobi being, a metropolitan place where everyone comes, and maybe it happens that they don't make life in Nairobi and they end up going to the back streets or in those slums. They end up, there's actually no life for them. They end up being goons. So there are actually many goons who are readily available for hire. Depends on the.
And that's what I'm saying. It is just a minute. It is a governance problem, because why would a governor go to a school constructing tiles instead of developing an industry that will do the same and have youths employed?
But you clap for them.
We clap for them, yes. Do you know why we clap for them? Because most of them are paid. Most of the people going to those rallies are paid. And when someone knows freedom based on their cage. If someone is in a cage, all they want is food. So anyone who gives them food is the best person. But the person who is giving them food knows that this person needs to get out of this prison. And that's the problem that you're having. Someone knows that, okay, hii barabara ni mbaya. So someone who brings barabara is the best person. But the real thing is that person needs road, that person needs water, that person needs good classroom. And it's possible. The only problem that is that our political class knows our problem. We are caged. Tunajua government huwa haifanyi kazi, so we need roads, and that's what the government brings, or our leaders, so to say. So from where you sit, Fred.
Just a moment.
All right.
I would want to correct my friend Bluesman here. We cannot stratify Kenyans into classes, the high class, the middle, and the low class. If you're talking about Kenyans, Kenyans are all equal. If you stratify Kenyans, that means there will be some who cannot be apprehended, who cannot be brought to court. We shall see impunity. That's why people be very free to talk about, to give alternatives, because they know the Kenyans believe outside there is a political class. There is, the first class, the middle, and the low class. So it's very wrong to say so.
No, exactly. Let me just liberate from it. It's on the same point. I'm just saying, I'm not stratifying Kenyans.
All right.
It's okay. He has corrected himself.
He has corrected himself. All right. Now, as we conclude on the matters of police officers and believing in them, do you think that the Kenya will regain trust once again in the police?
But I believe someday, not very soon, because we can see impunity. The other day, Ojuang died in police custody. But again, what do we see? The person behind it is not apprehended. I will not mention names, but we know very well the person behind it has not been apprehended. So it's just it's the small fish who are being fried, but the real big fish is somewhere relaxing, just watching the game how it moves. You get
protection is not playing.
You get so yeah. My freedom after this expression is not guaranteed. I will not mention names. You see, so gaining trust again, it will really take time. Yeah, it will take time. We need to, you see, the police are forgetting one thing. This war is not against the general public and the police. You see, the police should protect the people. They themselves are the adversaries. So how do you tell me I will trust somebody who shot my son point blank? You see, like the guy who mask. You see, he's dead. You see, will I really trust the police if you killed my son? You get. So this is a bit personal and emotional. Trusting the police is a question of time. But I think with the with the right structure in future, probably, not in the near future though, a very long time from now, we'll trust the police.
And
But
do
not
you
anytime
think,
soon.
now that you're talking of police, do you think, in the spirit of mental health, I mean, do you think the police act out of frustration? Because recently we've seen their lunch budget has been scrapped, and now apart from living in poor houses, now they're not having lunch as well.
I do not want to defend the police at all. You see, these are elders. I mean, adults, not elders, but adults. We should not victimize this police, saying, oh, the police are not paid well, they have housing issues, And these are people with ego. They are blind, they have been given power and a gun, so they are blind, they're drenched in power. They want to show people that, probably, this is very wrong to say, but let me say it. You see, who do we see at the police? You see, somebody says, I did not make it very well, probably in education and, and in life. So you see, I have to show you that I have power and I control it. That's why they use their guns. So I don't really want to defend them at all. Let them be held accountable. Let them be accountable. Let them suffer the consequences of their actions. If they shoot people, let's come for them. I will not defend the police as at now. The status quo as at now. Probably in future I will defend the police, but not now.
All right. Rusman, do you see Kenyans having hope in the police?
First of all, I would actually say that it's actually not the police whose lunch budget was actually scrapped off the army. Because the police do actually not have a lunch budget. But I hope even the nation or the government might consider giving them a lunch budget. Again, the problem here is not about the relationship. Because since I came to understand maybe myself, I've never seen a situation that maybe there's a good relationship between the public and the police. Every time now and then, we actually have these cases where we have the police and the general public actually are in conflict because one party wants to be superior, and then the other party is telling the police that, you know what, we are the people, we are the one who give this power. And a lot of injustices, leave alone whatever we're seeing now, over time, historic injustices have been orchestrated by the police. But now, if maybe a rogue politician decides that he wants to maybe take the land that your forefathers and ancestors maybe have in the Lake region, he or she will use the police. Today, if there's any errand that is actually done by a rogue politician, the key word here is rogue politician or rogue, anyone rogue in power, he will use the police. And what does it come? People, the general public, see the police as the enemies, not the politicians. Because even right now, if I see a lot of injustices in the society, leave alone political now, even societal social injustices where someone just decides that he's going to call the police on me, and the police won't decide to take my side. They'll come, raid my home, take me, and then again, one thing that's actually making the police and Kenyans maybe have the differences is because the levies that the police have. Where I come from, there's no curfew. In the night, police come, do their patrol, they actually arrest you, ask you whether you have the ID. If you don't have the ID, you ask to pay some money, and they take you. They just write charges on you. Maybe you actually don't understand that you can actually call a lawyer, and maybe you can get out free, and you end up paying a lot of money. So growing up, there's that relationship of like, I fear the police. Yes, maybe they went to school and got bad grades, but that's the fear. It's a societal fear. And the young people have actually come, and that's one thing that I love the young people. They are very unafraid, very brave. I tell them, these young people, this police, that yes. And sadly, these police who actually do most of these injustices are young people, are also young people. Because it's more of check stamping. They have become the politicians now. They're like, no, you can do it. The same, whatever he just said. The same thing.
Just a moment. I want to use the very word that he used, check stamping. You see, I said I will not defend the police. Who are the police? You see, these are people who did not have alternatives to say. You see, kwa maisha walichapa kazi kidogo, it's not working for me. So for the police recruitment, let me go. And who are these people who are going to those recruitments? You see, in school probably they don't do very well. You get. So if you are talking, these people are just something. They are bullies, and this is how a bully works. A bully cannot cannot compete in an intellectual conversation, in an intellectual level. So what they do is, you see, I have to use my physical strength. If I'm a bully, I'm a bouncer, and you're better intellectually, I will have to use my physical advantages over you. So the police, the same way, you see, they have a gun and they have power. So they're like, you know what, I can arrest you for very flimsy reason. Probably you look suspicious. You see, so they want to just stamp and show really, we have power. So they have turned the war to the people against the police. So I will never defend the police as at now.
All right. Maybe in future it will change.
But it's a lawyer.
It's not just because I'm a lawyer. The people, the police are supposed to protect. They have to maintain law and order. So who is somebody who maintains law and order? If you want to maintain law and order, you should know the law first. If you don't know the law, you cannot maintain it. You see, that's why we are seeing, a lot of unconstitutional arrests, arbitrary arrests, people being held incommunicado. They do not know the law. How can you protect the law if you? How can you maintain it if you do not know it? So we should be organized. We should get police who are educated and not just people probably somebody who got a D plus. It's wrong to say, but you not just get somebody who probably got a D plus or a D minus or a E probably becoming a police officer who cannot comprehend, cannot understand. Even if you give them a constitution, read what does sovereignty mean, they do not know.
They actually train. What does actually?
They train how to apprehend a suspect. They train how to apprehend. This is how you do. If you go there, take your cuffs, you do this. That's the training. It's not the law. You get.
All right, the government has had.
I wanted actually to add something. The spirit of mental health. I think there's a point here because actually the training these people go through in Kiganjo and other police training areas, according to stories coming out of there, they actually tough trainings. Lethal. So what does this training have? The impact of this training of this young officer. So he's trained to be a beast. He's trained to be maybe someone who is actually very lethal from the training. So the mental health perspective that they need to be very emotionally intelligent. These young people who are coming from Kiganjo and other places, it is actually from the observation, they are not emotionally intelligent. The case with Boniface Kariuki, I do not know whether there was actually maybe verbal altercation, but the police were supposed to be the bigger person in this picture and not to maybe overreact. Because the guy was just a mask seller or a hawker. So there's a lot of what is coming to our side, and maybe from observers and an observer's point is they lack emotional intelligence and they are not maybe mentally healthy to actually exercise toward guns.
You see, the issue is not about emotional intelligence here. You see, you have a choice whether to act right or not. You get me? So you cannot tell me, I was a beast this time, or I did this, it was wrong, because, I was not very emotionally intelligent that time. You had the choice to do what was right, but you chose deliberately. You get? You chose to do something that is not right. Then you are telling, whatever is telling us, blues my we have to normalize. If we see the police beating up people, they have been trained to be beasts. That's wrong. They have a choice. That moment that they have to beat that person, in their mind, they have a choice to do it or not to do it. But they still chose to do it. You get? So we should not be defending the police at all.
Now, just allow me to maybe reply because he's actually putting me on notice. So let me just reply just a second. First, I'm not saying that we should just take notice of that this could be a problem and maybe add it when training. I'm not justifying the acts of the police. Again, the problem of the police is not just one police person. There are many police actually doing this. So what we should look at the real cause of this issue. That's just because they are there. The real cause. Let's have the training in those trainings. Let's have things that training that actually consider the mental health of these people and how they might overreact. Not just just giving us brutals.
All right.
You know, the real cause is just inferiority complex and power struggle. That's all. That summarizes the whole discussion.
They should teach that.
All right. I want us to end the discussion at that point. And as I will be taking your final remarks, the youth, there is the fight for the youth's involvement in politics, and that is both from the government and from the opposition. Everyone is pulling to their side. That vijana mje huku, vijana mje huku, and all that. So, from where you sit, Fred, how do you think the youth should be involved in governance?
The government should come up with new strategies on how to engage the youth. You know, the Gen Z movement is leaderless, faceless, tribeless. You get. So if you are leaderless, you cannot engage us in a point of view. No, we want somebody. You have to. You know, the government has to force the Gen Z to have a leader. You get. So it should not be that way. They should think of other alternatives. You get. This era it's a different era. So how can we engage the youth? One, you could do like what the other day what Trudeau did. You see, from a baraza, we shall come give our input there. Come on next, we shall talk to you. You see. So if they want to force a leader on us now, that would be very difficult to engage. But as at now, we really need dialogue. We really need dialogue. But the structure that the dialogue should be, it should be the first one with the government. As in having a leader, a leader is forced on, you know, give us a leader, so that leader can be compromised somewhere in closed rooms. No, that's not what we want. So let them think of something alternative, because it is right now it's very possible. I mean, it's nearly impossible to get a leader from the jazz movement. Yeah.
All right, Lisman, how do you think it should be involved in governance?
First of all, as a political reporter, I'm actually interested to see how this Gen Z movement will be going in the hunt for into the 2027 election. Because right now, if it's this organic leaderless, I do not know how they'll be organizing themselves. Maybe we'll see, maybe just an idea from one person sharing on next that this is the way, and then others follow. And I think having a leader is good. It brings about, gives you a good direction. Because we've seen with political movements like the ODM movement and how it has been doing. Okay, so as I finish up on youth being involved into politics, it's very hard for them to be involved because there's no good structure. Whoever wants to involve them does not know where to start, I'll say. And when we talk about every politician wanting this movement, it is more the opposition actually, after this movement, the opposition actually feels there's actually a politician who went on TV and then he said, I actually have the Gen Z. So I was actually asking myself, how does he know that he have the Gen Z? Because the Gen Z are quite, those are those people who can say, we have you today and tomorrow they criticize you. And the Gen Z, the kind of people being pushed by the Gen Z and the likes of Omtata and Maraga. And they actually don't seem to have the political wave. So if the Gen Z really want this movement to maybe lay the side of Maraga or Omtata, they have the right to do it come to 2027. So I actually say that it's actually very hard for the young, this relationship between the young people and the politician. It could be one of the hard political tasks, and we actually need strategy. And it's something that I wouldn't give an opinion because it's something that's actually in progress, and I'm just an observer waiting to see what will actually happen.
All right.
He was telling us about the Gen Zs are pushing Maraca, and the likes of Omtata. So he's telling us, but they don't have the political wave. I want to remind him that the Gen Zs and the millennials form about 60% of the voters. You get. So if you cannot tell me they do not have the political wave, these people, the Gen Zs and the millennials, 60%. That's a lot. You get.
They might be 60, but do they vote?
Do they vote? Who will
now
them this is the direction?
Now, I told you three things there the other time. I said, one, we are 60%. Second, we are very political awake. And three, we on the social media space. And right now, because we are very political awake, we know definitely we are going to, it will not be like the other time. The other time, we had about 22.1 million registered voters, right? And only 14 point something million voted. You get. So that was about 60, I think 64, right? 64% of the turnout. You get? So this time now it will be very different. The registered voters will be about more than it might be even more than 40 million. You get? And these people are very political awake.
Maybe if I may just ask him a question. Maybe you can tell us now as a Gen Z, where will you go? Which political direction are you taking in terms of your leader?
In
who will you elect as the Gen Z?
I cannot speak on behalf of the Gen Z.
You don't have an answer.
Yeah, no,
You don't have an answer. You don't have an
I
answer.
don't have an answer.
You
I'm
don't
not
have
the
an
leader
answer.
of the Gen Z. You get? I'm just part of the movement. But to say so, it does not. I do not mean that I agree with everything that has been said with the Gen Z. You get? I'm someone who is very deliberate in thinking. Someone who is very objective. I look at things differently from how other people see. You see, if I want to criticize Ruto, I am looking at Ruto objectively. You see, someone from the coast cannot look at Ruto the same way like someone who is from the mountain. You see, development is different. The coast is behind, and Mount Kenya is way ahead. You get. So if Ruto brings development to the coast and he does not take development to the mountain will complain, but the coast will rejoice. You get. So I'm somebody who is really objective.
All right.
And deliberate.
Now, with the political realignment right now, the opposition seems to be working on a tightrope on who to unseat Ruto. We had Wiper leaders say that hizo rumors zenyu za inaingia uongo. So there is quite a little bit of shake-up because in as much as everyone says Ruto must go, Ruto says I must go. How? You know, there is a constitutional way of posting a president or getting him out of power, and that is through voting. That is the right way. So, in as much as we want the president to be out of office, how can that happen? Because if we're talking about election, no one has come out at yes, I mean, I'm the one fighting. We just have different people hinting. Some of them going to outreach and they have a crowd of 200 people. Some of them, some of them paying for crowds, some of them. So, which is which? This even as you give your final remarks. I'll give you the blues man.
You see, one thing as a political analyst and a political observer, you see the same script that William Ruto played in 2020, in the run to 2022 elections, the same script that the opposition are doing. So that they have the touch of, they have quite different region, different. We have Kalonzo, we have Karua, we have regarding Gachagua and maybe Matiangi. If I told he will be joining them because I didn't see him in Narok yesterday. So we have this, it's kind of different, but it's really more of the same script. So it's more of, will the political professor himself, William Ruto, be able to outsmart these people in their own game? In his own game. Now, the political script is there. It's only that we have maybe the chance and maybe the Gen Z, but it's actually more the same political script that is there. So it will be more now political strategy and see who will outdo the other. So to me, the MP said that we won't be surprised to see that whoever is chanting must go is chanting one time today, maybe next year this time will be chanting two times. So it's about all. I'll say just let's wait and see. I won't even have a comment on it because I'll have to retract my comment the next time we come see.
I'll hold you accountable. I'll tell you on record.
No, I don't want that.
All right.
So to begin with, I do not support any unconstitutional means to remove the president from the office. We have a constitution. Kenyans bestowed themselves a constitution, upon themselves, and we should follow the constitution to the letter. You see, this constitution, we are the ones who bestowed the constitution upon ourselves. So, if right now you're telling us, we have to remove the president so that he can be a half-term president, do we really respect the constitution as Kenyans, as Gen Zs? You see, the constitution should be the supreme law, and its validity should not be a matter of discussion somewhere in court or whatever. You see, so we have to respect the constitution. If he is the president, there is no way we can remove him unconstitutional, whether we like it or not. We cannot go to this. I mean, much to us to remove him. It's unconstitutional. So it's wrong to say so. You see, so the conversation should be, we should occupy the ballot instead of occupy the state house. You get. So we should wait for 2027. And again, to comment about, you see, 2 years are so many to give a comment on who will be the leader. You cannot, there is nobody who can say definitively that who should not be the president. We are trying to create an impression that, you see, they're trying to create an impression that probably even if Ruto wins that time, they will deny and say, votes have been stolen because we saw the masses. But you cannot definitively say that Ruto cannot win. You see, 2 years are allowed in politics. So I will not want to give a comment on that because as at now, I don't think we have a very good candidate as at now. Not Rigathi, not Maraga, not Matiangi. With Matiangi, we had over 650 people from Rivayala, I mean, in Huru's regime. You cannot tell me the same person with the president, you see. So I do not want to really comment on who will be the president then.
Like Blue Smile says, I'm rich, you guys don't know what you want. The same thing Marara said, that the problem with this country is Kenyans. You guys don't know what you want.
We know what we want. The Gen Zs want jobs. They want an end to police brutality. They want an end to this, total and blatant disregard for human rights. We know we want sustainable development. That's what we want. That's what we really want. It's probably, let me comment something. You see, I said that the total voter turnout was about 64%, and Ruto got about 7.1, I think 1.8 million votes. That means he was voted by 32% of the total registered voters. So if you're talking about legitimacy, you see, it's like Ruto was not very popular. So most of the people in the movement want Ruto out. You get?
All right, let's end this discussion at that point. We'll pick it up next week on the show, Biashara Tuesday. This has been Biashara Tuesday with Frederick Yamaya and Blue Smile Hassan. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time for us this morning. Until next